we really have to discuss this news with the Sacramento Kings. So Monty McNair, the general manager of the Sacramento Kings, fired Mike Brown. The circumstances of the firing were interesting. Well, first of all, let's just talk about the context of the Kings. They had just gotten off of a really rough losing stretch that included 5 straight losses at home. Mike Brown was actually fired following a practice where he met with the media while he was on the way to the airport for a road trip to LA, where the Kings were supposed to play the Lakers that night. This firing comes following reports of Rich Paul, that's De'Aaron Fox's agent with Clutch Sports, paying a visit to the top brass at the Kings and basically saying, like, hey, you guys need to get it together or De'Aaron is asking out. CT, what did you make of the initial news of the firing? And then we can discuss a little bit about the details of the PR storm.
Kind of feels like this was a move just to make a move. The team losing 5 straight in a row, and then just to make a move is not, I don't think, the most ideal. I've been cautioning Nuggets fans about that as well. The same thing. I thought Mike Brown did a great job coaching them. He basically restored the franchise to relevance, along with Sabonis and Fox as well. But if you look at the Kings, like prior to his arrival and prior to even Fox and Sabonis, like that franchise was a laughingstock. A franchise that was always in the lottery and making terrible draft decisions. So I think, with Brown, he restored a level of, I think, competence to the organization, stability as well. So I think, like Malone was saying, I think, honestly, if you guys didn't listen to Malone's presser about the firing, I really think you should, because he really hit the nail on the head a lot with everything that was said.
Awful. Yeah, awful. And at first, I was really shocked and surprised. Then I caught myself. So why am I shocked and surprised? For 2 reasons. One, because as an NBA head coach, ultimately you're going to get the blame. When they win, it's going to go to Sabonis and Fox. When you lose, it's going to go to Mike Brown. That's the way it works. And 2, who he works for. So I'm not surprised that Mike Brown got fired, because I got fired by the same person. And what really pissed me off about it was the fact that they lost last night, 5th game in a row, I believe. Tough loss, fouling a jump shooter. They had practice this morning. He does his post-game media, and he's in his car going to the airport to fly to LA, and they call him on the phone. No class, no balls. That's what I'll say about that.
Of course, he's got a personal, I don't know about a vendetta, I would say, but he's got a personal gripe with the Kings organization. So I'll definitely listen to what he said and his context into the organization. As, Fox and Sabonis, if they win, they get the credit. If they lose, then the coach is the one who's the fall guy, which
gets the blame,
which happened. Yeah, that happens. So we'll see if they can turn it around. Sometimes that'll spark a change in the team. I know they won last night, the Kings, so maybe that could, turn it around a bit. But for me, I was still a bit overall shocked, that move took place.
Yeah, I agree. And there was a bit of there were kind of counter forces with the post firing PR. There was a Ramona Shelburne piece, this show's favorite
Famous
writer, claiming that none of Fox, Domas, or DeMar were even consulted about the decision. She also details that I'm assuming she's got a lot of front office sources, because a lot of what was in this article was about how they were really trying to hold off on making this particular move, that they were looking into trades for guys like Zach LaVine, Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma.
Sounds similar to another team.
And then decided to fire their coach instead, which is interesting, because there were also comments from there was obviously unnamed sources, but somewhat an anonymous source, but someone who's close to and familiar with the team, said the roster's fine, but they were also looking to make all these upgrades, and they'd been struggling, and they've been looking at making all these different trades. There were also, according to Lou Williams, was saying that he heard that Mike Brown was trying to bench DeMar. Maybe not the worst idea, given his fit with the other top, stars on that team. It's a really messy situation. Completely agree with you that it's a panic move. Actually, Malone, Steve Kerr, and JB Bickerstaff all basically said that it was a, varying degrees of saying it was a despicable firing. and that it was hasty and like all of that. So, coaches kind of having each other's backs in that sense. But I thought Malone's clip, where, like you said, he does have history with Monty McNair in particular, and the Kings front office generally, says no balls, no class. And then you so kindly shared a video with us of from a Kings game with a few Kings fans donning some shirts that say "No class, no balls." Oh, there it is. And I just had to know how they got those shirts made so quickly.
Very quick turnaround.
Very quick turnaround. Interesting to see that Kings fans. This was not at a Kings Nuggets game, but Kings fans definitely heard Malone's words, and they ringed true enough that a group of them, had these shirts. So very chaotic time for Sacramento. I did find it interesting that De'Aaron wasn't consulted on the decision. I guess, like everyone, I think they talked about this when the Bucks fired Bud. Giannis didn't know. I just think it's kind of like when you're like, your franchise star should at least get a heads up on it. So maybe he wasn't consulted, but he got a heads up like ahead of time. Because I feel like maybe because coaches aren't as important in today's NBA, like a bad coach is like could really hurt you, but I don't know how much like a good coach kind of gets you over the top, as Mike Brown is is learning right now. Especially because De'Aaron himself has talked about how stability with this organization and just like having some continuity and like some seriousness to the organization is so important to him. I find it interesting that he didn't know, but I guess that's just standard practice in the NBA. It's just a very revealing saga about how the NBA operates these days. Malone, straight shooter. He puts himself out there with those comments. I saw some people online saying like, doesn't he know he's next? And I'm like, I really hope not. I hope I hope the Nuggets organization doesn't do that. The other, aspect of this is that the Kings were willing to eat the extra 2 years of his contract that are left in addition to this one, because he had just signed a contract extension this past summer
Right.
for a lot of money. So they were willing to eat that money. And then they've got Doug Christie, who has been interim head coach before. He's an assistant on that staff, and now he's interim head coach, and again, kind of elevated to that position. And maybe they'll do a head coach search this offseason. But yeah, it's just a really chaotic thing to do in the middle of the season, and they did it in the most chaotic way possible. There were stories of the team just kind of sitting on the tarmac waiting to find out, like, okay, who's in charge now, because we're literally about to go on a road trip and we don't know like what we're supposed to do. If you are new and not subscribed and still listening at this point, please hit the subscribe button and also hit the like button. Please remember to share with your friends, your family, your frenemies, your arch rivals. Hit the notification bell to receive all of our updates on new episodes, on shorts, etc. And always remember that winning is fun and losing sucks.